John Wilkinson again, and History Made Easier again. And in this second video on the rise to power of Stalin, I'm going to focus on not only Stalin's control of the party, but the really confined nature in which this battle took place. In general elections, we have people contesting for the votes of millions of people. Not so in this battle for power. I'm going to use Alan Bullock's book, Hitler and Stalin, Parallel Lives. Alan Bullock refers to the arena in which the battle takes place. This is what he writes. The arena in which Stalin conducted his 6-year-long campaign to become Lenin's successor was the closed world of the upper echelons of the Communist Party and the Communist International. At no point were the contestants, either Stalin or his opponents, willing to take the issues between them to the Russian people, or even to such representative bodies as the Soviets. The largest bodies involved, their membership increasingly controlled by Stalin, were the Party Congress and the specially summoned Party Conference, each of which met 3 times between Lenin's death in 1924 and Stalin's victory at the end of 1929. At the 14th Congress in December 1925, there were over 600 delegates with votes, and this particular Congress was repeatedly postponed until Stalin could be sure of carrying the majority, a necessary precaution in going to the body which had the final voice. So we see Stalin's control of the party there, but we also see the confined nature of this arena in which the battle takes place. 600 plus delegates, but only 600 plus delegates, and they had the final voice. But the 2 main bodies in which the open running battles over policy and power were fought were the Politburo, with 7 members rising to 9, where the confrontation was face to face across the table, and the Central Committee plenum. At the same time that Lenin had recommended increasing the size of the Central Committee and the Central Control Commission, he had urged that the 2 should meet together to form a plenum, which would meet several times a year and become a superior party conference. With a Central Committee, which, counting candidates as well as full members, grew from 85 to 121 in 1928, Lenin's proposal produced a plenum of between 250 and 300. Again, not large numbers, which brought together the whole of the top leadership of the Communist Party. In such a setting where the proceedings took the form of debates subject to interruption and ending in votes, there was no place for Hitlerian histrionics. Remember, this is a book that looks at the parallel lives of Hitler and Stalin. What Stalin had to develop was something of which Hitler was temperamentally incapable: the ability to meet reasoned argument and show himself sufficiently master of the background to maneuver in debate and to cap his case with a telling quotation from Lenin, or from his opponent's earlier writings, so justifying the accusation of deviation from Lenin or opportunism. Aware of his limitations, he adopted a plain style of speaking, making full use of his position as General Secretary to prepare the ground and manipulate membership procedure and timing so as to place his opponents at a disadvantage. So again, the limited arena and the control of the party that Stalin played out to his advantage. By comparison with Hitler's exaggerated statements and highly charged appeal to the emotions of his audience, a characteristic Stalin speech from this period, even to the larger party congress, follows a logical line of argument within a conventional Marxist framework and is dull to read, unless one has the key, as his listeners would have done, to the coded references with which he scored his points. Nothing shows his astuteness more than his disclaimer of any originality as a Marxist theoretician, and the use he made of his claim to be no more than an interpreter of Lenin. So he set himself out not to be changing Marxism, nor to be changing Leninism. He was the inheritor of their genius. As time passed and he became more sure of speaking before a packed audience, his confidence grew and his manner became more menacing. The point has often been made that in appointing Stalin as General Secretary, the other members of the Politburo failed to recognize the power they were placing in his hands, or to use for his own aggrandizement. They also failed to recognize the necessary change in the role and the character of the party from the one they had known in pre-revolutionary days. So there an element of complacency or mistakes being made by Stalin's opponents, as well as Stalin's ability to control the party. In another section, Bullock says, the strength of Stalin's position was the needs of the party itself if it was to complete the revolution. The concentration of power which followed objectively from the party's need to strengthen its organization coincided with Stalin's personal interest. To those who claimed, justifiably, that the General Secretary was using the party to build up his own power, Stalin could reply, with equal justification, that he was providing what Lenin had called for. What alternative was there if the decisions made by the leadership were to be carried out on the ground? In addition to moving office holders up or down the levels of the hierarchy, Stalin was also able to remove those who opposed him by proposing transfer either to diplomatic posts abroad or to official duties in the remoter parts of Siberia or Soviet Central Asia. So again, the limited nature of the arena, as Bullock calls it, in which the battle for power takes place, and Stalin's control of that arena, Stalin's control of the party. Significant factors. So my third video will move on to look at the character of Stalin. But I hope you can now see that these videos are piecing together to give you a really, I think, interesting insight that will add to your knowledge and understanding of the battle itself between the protagonists. So for now, cheers.